thrilled to welcome these two amazing people to the show. We have Oliver Ward and Andre Sills joining us. They are the creators and performers, actors. They're all the things with a new web series, Private Idiots. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Singular Sensation.
Thank you, Jeni. Glad to be here.
Thank you for having us.
Glad to have you. Andre, we've been trying to get you on this show for a while, so I'm glad that things lined up that we could bring you on.
Well, I didn't allow him to do the show until I was involved. That was my game plan. Keep saying no, man.
I was saving it. I was saving us for this.
It all happens for a reason. Humor is what we all so desperately need right now. So thank you for bringing that to us. How did this come about? How do you guys know each other? Let's start with that.
Yeah, we'll start off at the Coburg, which was a bar in Cabbagetown.
We both worked there. We were both the late night bartenders, but we worked opposite shifts. But occasionally, I guess, I don't know, you would pop in or I'd pop in, and I think we got to know each other just across the bar.
Yeah. The Blue Flame Collective kind of started through, which was an initiative years ago where a bunch of actors are trying to get something started, get some film work, practice for film work for ourselves. And, we meet up every week and run some scenes. And then I guess from that, the next step was like, let's make a bunch of shorts.
Yeah.
And
well, yeah, no, exactly. So the Blue Flame Collective was just a way for working actors who were trying to do something that they weren't being cast to do, an opportunity to create any work you wanted. So sort of the challenge we put forth to all the actors was like, well, if you think you can play a part, then let's write some short films. And then as a collective, we started pumping out, like, I don't know, in the end, we made about 30, 40, 50 short films. But one of those films was called Sensitivity Training. Mm-hmm. And that was a response to a film festival in Toronto. It was a diversity film festival, and they were looking for films that showed you what, Toronto's diversity. And so I had this idea to have, I love comedies, and I love buddy comedies, and I love cop comedies. And I just thought Andre and I were going to make a perfect pair. And it was also like the time, I think Facebook had really sold off a lot of people's information. That was like the very beginning of all that. And there was a little bit of and there was not even the beginning, but I think like the trickle of like the woke movement. And so I just thought we just started kind of massaging this idea of these two guys in a car who are kind of the times. One's a little bit more than the other. And they're on a stakeout and they're investigating a guy that they found on Facebook. And the whole thing kind of becomes a little bit racial, a little bit tense in the car. And at the very end of that first short film, as Andre's character is about to throttle the guy that they picked up in the back seat, he kicks the radio turns on, and then we hear that the Maple Leafs made it to the Stanley Cup. And then we all forget our differences and everyone just starts cheering. And that's
the end. A fairy tale that will never happen.
Yeah.
Wait, this would never happen. All our problems would be solved, or that the Leafs would make it that far?
The Leafs would make it.
Yeah. That was the most fictional part of the whole thing.
We love sports over here, so we know exactly what you're talking about. So let me ask you, when writing a piece like that, how do you ride that line between, addressing certain issues, but also keeping the humor in it?
Well, I think we gave ourselves permission to cross the line from time to time. And, I think I think we needed to do that because, we're also flashing back to this time last year, and the conversations this time last year were slightly different. And then as the months started to go on, then things start to change a little bit. Mm-hmm. So, especially with our first couple of episodes, our language is pretty it can get intense in its quality, in its offensiveness from time to time, but it's there for a purpose, right? And I think when we're writing about it, is like, okay, I'm fine with offending people, but our intent was the main thing, was to either get people to continue to have the conversation, that these guys were having that most people are having a hard time navigating in general.
Well, I was trying to get the script to a place where I'm like, oh, Andre will like this. Like, it's in a good place. He'll want to return to it. George Floyd murder. And then I was like, and then all of a sudden, I mean, it was a lot for me to process. I realized, like, I'm writing a black man's opinion on things that I don't really know about. I'm writing based on what I think his voice is. And it was actually an incredible moment, because then, you know, that was the first conversation. Like, take a look what I read. Let's rewrite it. Let's approach this now as co-creators, because it kind of woke me up in a way, which I think it might have hopefully woke up a lot of writers, that at the very least there should, you know, if you're talking about race specific things or things that just really aren't from your culture, then at the very least a consultation. Sometimes people don't want to be writers, but Andre did, so we hopped in, and so that's kind of when everything changed, and then we kind of all became co-creators on the project. There's a third person as part of this group, Dennis Nicholson, our director, and so we ended up forming a digital writers room, and then kind of retooled the whole series with a different voice, which I think made it 1,000 times better. Yeah.
Do you have anything you want to add to that at all, Andre, of coming in as a writer and contributing, not just as an actor?
It was interesting to just kind of like figure out when and where I needed to take things on. Like, I guess for our first episode, like we had with the code changing stuff, there's a first draft that we did, and then we ended up having to reshoot that one. And then when we're preparing for the reshoot, it was like, why? What does it need? What does it need? It was like, oh, it's Toronto, so let's bring the Toronto mans into the picture. And you know, it kind of, because it's so Toronto right now, it's like it seems perfect to bring that reference in, and then taking an opportunity to, you know, as we're going through the episodes, I was like, do we address the George Floyd murder? And I was like, if we do, I think I want to take this one. And because I know for me, I was feeling a lot of frustration and helplessness around that situation. And I think what we were able to accomplish was sort of the inner workings and the frustration of Black people at the time, of like all these stupid things being said. And, you know, in the US, things are burning. So that sort of violence that was erupting out of people due to the passion that they were feeling and the anger that they were feeling was something that I really wanted to try and capture, while at the same time trying to keep it light, in a sense, not light, but a sense of humor to it, while not making fun of the situation at the same time.
And that was a fine line you tread. You know, great job.
Yeah. And I think and the one thing that I think that we found with the show is, in general, is that it doesn't always have to be funny. There's some episodes that I think that are more about the conversations that they're having, and the fact that they're having it is a big accomplishment. You know, whether if they're right or wrong, they're still finding their way. Like, the one thing that I mentioned to these guys is that I think in every incarnation of our show, over the 3 times that we visited it, we never solve anything.
Yeah, we're definitely the worst private detectives ever.
Never solve a case.
Yeah.
And with each issue that we bring up, we don't solve it.
Yeah.
It's an ongoing conversation, right? And I mean, it would be amazing if in a matter of 5 minutes, we're like, we solved that one.
Yeah.
But all these things are still issues right now. Like the day of the verdict for Derek Chauvin, another little girl was killed by the police. You know, so it's in a sense that, yes, justice was served, but we're not there yet, right? The conversations aren't done. We got to continue talking and find a way through. as opposed to talking quietly to ourselves and coming to a standstill.
I think that if there was a takeaway, and from everything you said there, Andre, I think that is the most, like, outside of the comedy and whatever else we did, I hope the one thing that if anyone does take anything from the show is that you should always keep talking, like, because that's the only way through.
Guys, thanks for this. This was awesome. I so appreciate it. Andre Sills and Oliver Ward, thank you both so much for joining us. Be sure to follow Private Idiots on Instagram and check out this web series. It is amazing. Thank you both so much for taking the time to join us. And we leave you now with a clip from Private Idiots.
Damn, she's cute.
I'm canceling you.
I am HR. Shut the fuck up.
It's all talk, man. No titty.
Well, we aim to please. What the fuck you dealing with, my youth?
$600 million worth of blue alien porn.
What the fuck was that?
I didn't realize that Hal Johnson was black.
I can't take this shit. Pancakes!
Joe Rogan is God.
Like Wayne Brady.
Because you know what they say. Once you go black. Well, how about a high five for being white?
Hey, Boise.
Yes, Steve?
Shut the fuck up.